Welcome to Sports 56 Happy Hour with Johnny Radio. This hour is brought to you by Scooters Plus on Summer Avenue. Now, here's your host, Johnny Radio himself, John Harden.
When you hear the sound of coming, hear the drums drumming, I want you to join together with the band. We don't move in any particular directions, and we don't make no collections. I want you to join together with the band.
Still no John today, but he'll be back Monday. Hope he's enjoying his vacation. He was at the Red Rocks, now he's at the beach, so he's having a good time. I hope he didn't miss Monday Night Football last night, Bryant.
Hope you didn't miss Monday Night Football.
Oh, I did not miss Monday. It's the National Football League, Bryant. You know, I just have to ask you this. You're looking around the room. Is there like there's a fly going around you? What's up?
Well, so you see this. We have two light switches in here.
Oh, we sure do.
There's one big light in the center, and then there's four lights in all four corners.
Yeah.
Well, one of the lights is out in the corner,
Always.
but these two front ones seem dimmer than this back one, and so I was looking at all the lights because it just seemed a little off in here.
Wow, maybe new lights. Maybe got in the new lights in there. You know, maybe more energy efficient. Who's to say?
Maybe.
But it's a big day in sports. Like we said, Monday Night Football last night, big baseball games. There's more baseball games today, per usual, I suppose. You know, baseball happens every day, but it's playoff time. And then hockey starts today, the National Hockey League, which I know Bryant and I are really excited about, and hopefully we can get you people on board as well. We're going to talk to David and Zach Boyd as well. That's my rundown. Professional rundown right there, Brian.
Hey, I mean, that's one of the better rundowns I've heard.
But Monday Night Football last night, you know what they say? The autumn wind is a Raider. And it was last night on Monday Night Football a huge question mark win for the Raiders. I mean, if they lose, they go to 1-4, right? So that makes it a huge win, does it not?
Seems to make it a huge one, yeah.
A big one. First of all, before the game even started, two things. And this is on my TV right now. I got NHL Network going all day today. As I
Heck
should.
yeah.
You
As you should.
They did individual preview, then they did Eastern Conference preview. Next is Western Conference preview. I guess Western Conference preview just started at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then they're doing, best bets for the season coming up after that.
Wow, a couple futures.
And then they've got NHL Now after that, which will preview the games tonight.
That will lead us into the first afternoon game.
Start at 4:30 today, local time.
With the Preds.
With the
so
Preds.
A little local action.
And it'll be on your local. Well, no, it's on ESPN today.
ESPN, yeah.
So all the games today are on ESPN. They're doing a triple header back to back to back.
And tomorrow's really when we get the season started because
Wow.
we got a full slate of games.
No NFL on tonight. There is college football on tonight, but it starts later. And then baseball will start later too. I give it a chance, man.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot impress upon people enough. You know, it's a fun sport to watch. Like, I mean, it's just an exciting game. Like, the complaint with baseball is it's too slow and all these other things. Not everybody. Some people seem to like NBA more than college or vice versa. NHL is just, I mean, hockey is just a fun sport to watch. If you don't watch it, if you're not in the habit of watching, I cannot impress upon people enough. It's so accessible today, too. 4:30 on ESPN.
I was about to say, what are you doing at 4:30?
Exactly.
I mean, you're probably sitting at work waiting to go home, and you can just flip it on.
If you have the accessibility to do it, I can't recommend it enough. It's really exciting. But we'll get to that more later, too. But the reason why I brought that up is because the Golden Knights were in the house last night with Lord Stanley's Cup.
Yeah, they were.
They're holding it up above their heads pregame and stuff like that. Now, they've already done their ring ceremony. They did it in the preseason, so they're not doing the ring ceremony tonight, right? Yeah, they play your boys tonight. And if you're watching on Twitch, Twitter, I almost said on Zoom, but you can't get access to our Zoom. If you're watching on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, any of these places, you can see Brian's decked out in his Kraken gear today. Big first game.
Oh, let's go Kraken!
Because his two hockey sweaters are the Kraken and the Blackhawks, which both play today. So he had to wear the Blackhawks yesterday, Connor Bedard, and today he's got, who's your jersey for the Kraken?
Ellie Tolvanen.
Ooh, Tolvanen. And I've got notes about him today.
Do you? Oh, that makes me excited.
I've been listening to, I'm talking hockey when I'm supposed to be talking Monday Night Football, but I was listening to what's it called? 32 teams or something like that. It's a Canadian Sportsnet podcast, but they do all the different teams, and it was really fun to listen to. Let me make sure I got the name right. 32 Thoughts. I'm sorry.
Okay.
32 Thoughts podcast. It comes courtesy of Sportsnet, and then Too Many Men podcast, 2 hockey podcasts. I've been eating up hockey,
Love
and then
it.
watching NHL Network.
We're
all
ready
day.
for the season.
I'm just trying to learn something. Like, it's
Yeah.
one thing to like learn the names and who's on what team. I want to learn like.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Yeah.
Like, well, how does hockey work? I'm really trying. You can see I'm really working hard to learn this stuff.
You're excited. You're
But
ready.
that's all to say that the Knights were in the stadium last
Sure
night.
were. They were on the pregame show. Jack Eichel was.
He sure was. And you know who else was on the pregame show?
Monday
Night Countdown.
Not Scott Van Pelt.
No.
Because he was sick.
No,
Down
but
in his voice.
do you know who was? Yeah, did you hear him
know.
on Sunday
No.
Night Sports Center?
No.
Oh, his voice was bad.
Really?
It
I
was
just
really
saw
bad.
the tweet yesterday saying that he was good because like the ESPN Twitter page or like ESPN PR was like
It was Joe Buck
hate
that
to
did Monday Night
see-
Countdown, too.
Yeah, and they were like, hate to see that Scott Van Pelt went. I was like, what happened to Scott Van Pelt? He's like leaving the network or something.
he was just
and then
sick.
I realized what happened.
And he kept talking about it during Sports Center too. He was like, "If my voice hangs
Good
on, we're gonna keep doing the
Lord.
show."
Good
It was a tough day for Scotty, but he got the night off. But a Raiders player was on Monday Night Countdown, Max Crosby.
Oh, Max
And,
Crosby. I like Max
It's
Crosby.
one thing to see Max Crosby on the field, great player, certainly one of the best on the
Absolutely.
Raiders. But seeing him before the game, he's just got his tank top on, he's got a skull cap on, and he's being interviewed by Swagoo and Ryan Clark. Max Crosby is a terrifying human being.
Sure is.
Terrifying. So here's an example of how that is. Swagoo and Ryan Clark, like I said, interviewing him on Countdown before the game. Swagoo, while he's doing the interview, got a football in his hand, right?
Okay.
You gotta hold a football when you're on the field doing a football interview. It's
Max
just the way it
Crosby's
works.
like looking at the ball, like salivating,
No, here
trying
you
to
go.
get a takeaway.
So at some point they're talking about something, and Max Crosby fakes a peanut punch. He fakes a peanut punch. Swagoo didn't just flinch; he jumped, like legitimately terrified. And Swagoo, this is an 8-year NFL veteran defensive end, like a menace of his own right, a giant man, 6'4", 315, terrified, mortified.
That's great.
Petrified.
I love that.
All the fives. That's what Swagoo was. And I'm like, wow. If I said Max Crosby is a terrifying man before that happened, and then I saw Swagoo jump. I'm like, that dude is
Okay, yeah,
scary.
everyone's
man.
terrified
He's
of
a
him.
scary man right there. But that was before the game, and then we got into the game, and things changed a little bit. My first note. So I like to take notes during the game. So these aren't always
a
coherent.
professional.
I try not. I'm not. I can't take you through this is what happened on the first drive. This is what happened on the second drive. I write notes. What the hell are the quarterbacks looking at? Do you agree?
Honestly.
So Jordan Love throws.
Oh, I have a great stat about Jordan Love. Please.
Me
continue.
too. So I have a couple as well. So I'll say this first. Jordan Love in the first half, what is he seeing, man? He threw.
Seeing ghosts.
He threw it right to the defender. It was a linebacker or something like that. A guy just sitting in his zone, and he threw it right to him. What is he looking at? I don't understand.
Yeah,
What are you looking at? It was one of the worst
And
passes
hey,
I've ever seen.
I want to be high on Jordan Love, but after watching a game like that, it's hard to be high on him.
But then the first drive in the second half, so they come out there, that's to end the first half, and then Jimmy G comes out and does the same thing. What are you looking at, man?
Jeez.
I mean, I don't play quarterback in the NFL, not even in college nor in high school, so I can't say what quarterbacks are looking at necessarily. Play a lot of Madden, though, but you see the whole
yeah.
field in Madden, very different.
All 22.
You don't get a quarterback's view in Madden necessarily. But, I'm just thinking, what are these guys looking at? What did you see, brother? That is insane. Also, Jimmy G's fourth straight game with a pick. But go ahead and tell me your and about Jordan Love. The Raiders were down 2 defensive backs in the game, 2 starting DBs, and he's still throwing 3 picks in the game. It was unbelievable. Anyway, go ahead with your Jordan Love stat.
So I saw this after the game last night. This is courtesy of Warren Sharp on Twitter. I want to bring this to your attention because I know how much you love the stat about Joe Milton that at least a couple weeks ago, 50% of his passes were behind the line
I've got
of
a great
scrimmage.
Kenny Pickett one to go with this as well.
That's beautiful. Jordan Love on passes thrown over 5 yards tonight. So this was after last night's game. 3 of 11, 3 interceptions, and a negative .78 EPA per attempt. Jordan Love on passes thrown over 5 yards the past 2 weeks, 14 of 32, 5 interceptions, 0 touchdowns, and a negative .41 EPA per attempt.
Yeah, 6 picks in
That's
his
crazy.
6 picks in his last 3 games too. That really is crazy as well. I mean, but also it's on the coach to know your
yeah.
personnel too.
yeah.
Like one thing about Joe Milton, when you talk about 50% of his passes behind the line of scrimmage, and that's not even the most damning one, because it's one thing in college in that offense
Sure.
to not do that. Mike Tomlin does the same thing with Kenny Pickett, but it's not as drastic because like that fits their scheme for
Sure.
this season. You know what I mean? So 64, I think, % of Kenny Pickett's passes have come behind
That's
the line of scrimmage
hilarious.
this year.
Wow.
But they're winning football games. They're in first place in the division, so it works for them. But Tennessee's scheme mixed with what Joe Milton is doing, that doesn't work.
Also,
but
behind that offensive line in Pittsburgh, you got to get the ball out fast.
that's
I
another
mean,
reason, too. So it's not all
Yeah.
on Kenny Pickett. You got to get that ball out fast. They can't block anybody here. It seems like, honestly, like Mike LaFleur's got to know his personnel better, or Matt LaFleur's got to know his.
LaFleur, yeah.
Mike LaFleur's the offensive coordinator for the Jets. Matt LaFleur's got to know. No. Mike LaFleur is Matt's offensive coordinator this year, didn't he? He was the Jets' offensive coordinator last year. I'll look it up.
Yeah,
There's
because
2
Nate
LaFleurs.
Hackett's the offense coordinator for the Jets.
Or he's the quarterback
Is he
coach.
just
isn't
quarterback
he?
coach? I
believe
thought
he's
he was
just the
offensive coordinator
quarterback.
as well.
I'm looking it up. Mike LaFleur is still with the Jets.
Okay,
He's
how
still
about
with the
that?
Jets. I thought he was still with the Jets.
Old
So,
LaFleur and
Mike and Matt.
and
they're both M's.
Hackett
And-
cutting it up.
And you know I love laugh and hack,
There you go.
which you don't usually laugh at a hack.
No, you don't.
But you know how much I love Coordinator Thursday,
Oh,
so I
yeah.
get the
Oh,
Mike and
man.
Matt mix up all the time. Anyway, Matt LaFleur, you got to know your personnel better like that, man.
Sure
Like,
do.
I mean, why are you throwing it past 5 yards 11 times? Why is that even an option at a certain point? Know your personnel a little bit better. That was terrible in that regard. How about this stat? This is a stat I thought you were going to give because this one's really good. You know what his quarterback rating was last night, Jordan Love's?
Oh God, no, I have no idea.
It was 32.
Oh, that's not good.
QBR of 13.2.
Good lord.
Jordan doesn't love that.
Nope. Neither does Green Bay. I almost said Pittsburgh.
And like I said, no, we were just talking about Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
though. And like I said, 6 picks in his last 3 games for Jordan Love. That's
good.
That's
That's not
crazy.
good. I mean,
man.
after
3 last night, so that's like Wade.
Sure,
that
I mean,
makes it look
that-
bad.
yeah.
But still, 3 in 2 weeks is also bad. 3 in the 2 weeks
good.
prior is also
Especially,
not very good.
I mean, after through the first 2 weeks of the season, Jordan Love had 2 really good weeks, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, like maybe Green Bay, like
Let's see if those
caught
weeks.
fire again."
Let's see if those weeks were overstated. So the first one was the Bears. 15 of 27, 245, 3 TDs, but it's the Bears and it's
the
week
Bears,
1.
Yeah,
At the
Don't know what to
Falcons,
expect.
14 of 25 for 151.
so not very.
But he
good.
also had 3 touchdowns in that game, so people
okay,
see
so
3
balloons it
touchdowns
up,
and they're
yeah.
like, that's really good as well. And no picks in the game either. And let's see the third week. I think this is when he fell apart at the. They threw a lot against the Saints. 22
sure
of
did.
44. Threw a pick in that one and had 1 touchdown though. But you throw 44 times, you better get 1
Yeah,
touchdown
you
out
better
of that.
find the end zone.
I mean, otherwise your team doesn't score at all. But that's also the game they came all the way back in the fourth quarter. Remember where Derek Carr
yeah.
got hurt? They put out Jameis and things fell apart. 17-0 lead. They blew 18
Oh,
points
that's
in the
right.
fourth
Oh,
quarter.
and of course everyone was. I mean, that Jordan Love gets the hype for a comeback win. I mean,
Yeah,
you get,
coming back in the fourth quarter at home
Yeah.
when you were down 17-0 to begin with.
But Jordan Love gets that. He gets that praise.
That also
So,
makes sense how they probably exactly. It also makes sense probably why they threw 44 times that game as
yeah.
well.
I
Because
mean, you're just chunking it at that point.
we got to come back somehow. So that's my first note. Is what are
Oh,
these
also
quarterbacks?
shout out Patrick Taylor getting a lot of action last night.
Ton of action.
Only 2 carries, but
Well,
you
that's
know.
action though, man.
I heard his name a lot last
Patty
night.
T.
Yeah.
Well, that actually leads really nicely into my next note, which is about running backs. Josh Jacobs and A.J. Dillon, I'm obligated to say Quadzilla, 2 angry runners. And Josh Jacobs really neither guy could get a lot going. A.J. Dillon had 76 yards. Josh Jacobs had 69, but he had that one big carry for 20 where he rattled off 24 yards there, Josh Jacobs did, and that was a great run. And then he had a touchdown later on that drive as well. So 3 yards in a cloud of dust football. Both guys averaged 3.5 yards last night. Those guys are 2 angry runners, and I love watching angry runners tote the rock, as it were.
the rock.
But it seems like you were more interested in old Patty T getting some carries last night.
I mean, I just got excited last night. You know, I'll be honest. Like most of these games that I watch without the audio. I don't listen to the commentators, and so I got home last night, and they had just come back, I guess, to start the fourth quarter maybe, and so I turned it on and I had the sound playing. I just heard Patrick Taylor a couple times, and it got me excited. I got fired up.
Brian, Patrick Taylor went to Memphis.
That's exactly. Yeah.
See, that entire time I was playing along, like, oh yeah, Patty T, oh Patrick Taylor.
You had no idea who Patrick Taylor
just looked
was.
it up. He went to Memphis.
All right, that's why it got me excited. That's why it got me fired up.
I assumed that's what it was, but I was still unsure. So
there's got to be some
I
tie.
wanted
Because
to
like,
make
why
it-
would Patrick Taylor get Bryant fired up? Either he used to be a Cowboy or he used to be a Tiger.
So I had to look it up, and I found out why.
There you go.
How about this too? Jacoby Myers. I'm sorry, no. That's the last one I want to get to. We had a doink. We're doinking it on
Sure
Monday
did.
Night Football. A big old
Sure
doink.
did.
And so both kickers were brothers. Did you know that? So
Really?
the kick, yeah. So they're brothers. Daniel Carlson of the Raiders and Anders Carlson of the Green Bay Packers.
Wow.
Two brothers. And so
One had a better night.
when he
yikes,
doinked the
and
kick,
one won.
when he doinked the kick, when Daniel Carlson doinked the kick, missed 2 field goals, but the doink was one of them.
did.
When he doinked it, they cut to the parents. Every kick they cut to the parents and just head in the hands. And so, like, you see
Yikes.
this guy in a Packers jersey because the dad was wearing the Packers jersey last night.
Yeah.
Head in his hands, like, oh my God.
man.
Oh, this is
Oh,
terrible.
no.
What an existence it must be
That's
to
rough.
be a kicker's parent.
Oh God.
Because you don't expect
Maybe the worst.
The camera would never be on you otherwise.
They're kicker's parents.
It was last night because they were brothers. Obviously, that's a storyline. They're
Story.
sitting on the front row, but like
How were the parents dressed?
jerseys.
But like one for each, or okay? 'Cause
You know,
I always think back to like the Wilson and William Contreras when they were playing each other, and their
split
parents were
jersey.
there, and one had a split jersey, the other one was changing hats every time a team would go to bat. So, I was just
Like Lucy at the Red River rivalry.
right.
I saw a split Grizzlies Tigers jersey at the Grizzlies preseason game Sunday for Derrick
Really?
Rose.
Really?
Yeah.
I think
but it
that's-
was like handcrafted.
that
It was
same
pretty
guy, I think, was at Memphis Madness.
Wow.
And
Student
and-
Madness?
or Student Madness, yeah. And so I saw that on Twitter.
could he possibly-
Connor actually made the background of that.
How could he
that picture.
possibly have been at Student Madness?
Was he an older gentleman?
Yeah.
Oh well, then maybe somebody's just making these jerseys and selling them or something. Because
Maybe so, but they're cheaply made too, so I could
Yeah.
believe that. I mean, it's not like it's a real. It's not like sometimes when they do that, it's like, all right, we're gonna ruin this jersey to make a really cool joint jersey. No, this is two.
No,
fake
it's like
jerseys,
it's two very fake.
two
jerseys.
fake jerseys that they combine into one faker jersey.
See, here's the jersey that was at Student
What's
Madness that they posted.
Audio medium, Brian.
Well, I'm gonna show you, and you can tell me if this is like the same thing that you saw at,
uh,
or is that better quality?
no,
than-
they were both white. So
really?
the one Bryant showed
There's
me was
Connor
the
in the
blue
background
side.
picture.
Nice,
How
very
about
nice.
that?
The one that Brian just showed me because there's a bunch of people listening on the radio. Probably no people
Well, if you're
watching
watching,
on YouTube.
if you're watching, I'll show it to the camera.
If
so you
you're
can
listening,
see.
the one side, the
Uh-huh.
left side of the jersey, if you're looking at it, is a Grizzlies 2 jersey, kind of an old style
Yeah.
Grizzlies jersey, and the right side is a blue,
blue 3.
blue Tigers jersey, whereas the one I saw at the Grizzlies game was white on both
I
sides. There.
see. So I like the white and blue better. I haven't seen the other one, but if I had to pick,
I actually do too.
good.
But it still looked fake. And the last note I was going to say on this game, Jacoby Myers last night, and there was a ton of interviews going around with Devontae Adams as well. Jacoby Myers had 10 targets last night for 7 receptions, and Devontae Adams had 4 targets last night,
Yikes.
caught all 4 of them.
How about that?
What do you think about that?
I mean,
he's being double covered, so that's probably why. But
Sure.
you got a receiver as much as that. I mean, they more than doubled his targets with
yeah,
Jacoby Myers.
and I mean, Devontae Adams is that guy. So,
It's
I mean,
crazy.
you gotta.
Sometimes you just throw him the football, which is some of the success Baker is having
But-
in Tampa, is just throwing it up to the best receivers in the world.
But I mean, if it's working with Myers, I mean,
Is it? They scored 17 points. They were on the
true.
brink of being 1-4.
but I mean, if he's getting open, then maybe you just find the open guy.
Maybe so. I guess 10 targets, 7 receptions. That's not.
Not bad.
That's big. That's good. I don't really actually know what like a good differential is to receptions. As long as you don't drop any of them.
Yeah. I
As
wonder
long
how
as they
many
were
of those are
bad
dropped.
passes, as long as
Yeah.
the 10 targets, 3 of them were
Exactly.
bad passes, you're
Now, if 3 of them were drops,
Yeah, then
we're
you're in
having a
trouble.
completely different story.
And then finally, I guess I said that was my last note finally
did.
here, and we'll get to a
You
break.
lied.
And we'll get to David Cobb here. We got lots of questions for David Cobb. To end the game, I love the visual of seeing Christian Watson calling for the ball.
Oh man.
Matt LaFleur on the sideline calling for Christian Watson
yeah.
to get the ball, and then it results in a game-sealing pick by a 5'9"
Yeah,
player.
yeah, that was upsetting.
Great visual, though. Excellent visual.
Did you see you talked about the pregame a while ago, and I'm just now thinking
Max
about this.
Crosby, terrifying human. Vegas Golden Knights held up Lord Stanley's Cup.
That's right.
Back
Those
to
were
you.
your notes. Did you see Joe Buck's wife was working last night.
Doing what?
I don't know what all her. I didn't watch the pregame show, but she did a report on like somebody and some story, and she did like a story on it, and she was like,
"Is that her trade?"
I don't know, and she was like, "Back to you, Joe." And Joe's response, he goes, "Nice job, babe."
Oh man. You can't say. See, you have to pick your word. That's something you can say to your wife.
And she responds, she goes, "Thanks, babe," in the
Wow.
most like sarcastic way possible. It was great.
Pet names.
That's right. On ESPN.
How about that?
Monday Night Football pregame.
Couple of babes cutting it up.
That's right.
Back after this.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hi, this is Lauren Choate with Choate's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Plumbing. Choate's is offering some amazing specials for this month only. If you're considering upgrading your furnace before the cold weather comes, Choate's is offering $1,000 off a new Carrier furnace. If you don't need a new furnace, Choate's is now offering its early bird $60 furnace tune-up. This 22-point tune-up includes a free carbon monoxide test and heat exchanger inspection. And Choate's is your indoor air quality expert. For the best quality air for you and your family, it's recommended to have your air ducts cleaned every 8 years. This month only, Choate's will install a free UV light system when you get your air ducts cleaned, a $500 value. Call us at 347-8086 to take advantage of these amazing deals. So, turn to the experts with Choate's, and remember, let our family serve your family.
It's time for the Fall Haul at Northern Tool and Equipment. Get your hands on tough tools at prices that are tough to ignore. Got plans? Cancel them. Trucks in the shop? Borrow someone else's. Don't like saving money? Right. So head to the Fall Haul at Northern Tool. Back up the truck for the season's biggest event and save on generators, power tools, trailers, and more. Shop in-store or at northerntool.com. We're made for this.
It doesn't matter if you're at the lake, if you're hunting, fishing, playing golf, or just playing around, Scooters Plus can hook you up with the mobility that you need. Scooters Plus has the largest vehicle and parts inventory in the Mid-South and the best service department. You can choose from ATVs, UTVs, golf carts, motorcycles, dirt bikes, trikes, scooters, and even electric bikes. Come in today to start or wrap up your holiday shopping with 25% down on Christmas layaways. Scooters Plus, 3425 Summer Avenue. Call Sam at 458-8843 or go online to scootersplus.us.
Lowe's knows how to save pros time and money. Right now, get 15% off select gelled Win windows and patio doors. And there's more. Earn 3 times MVP's bonus points on select Klein tools. Visit us in-store or online for more deals you can't beat. Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. Offer valid 10/5 through 10/11. Selection varies by location. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts if any. Valid through 10/27.
I'm with John Burgos from the world-famous Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948.
Brett, we have catered parties all over this country and all over the world, from Singapore, Australia to Central Park in New York, but many people don't realize how much we do locally. For holiday events, office parties, tailgating, birthday parties, you can't do better than the Rendezvous. For example, you can get a cheese and sausage tray for 15 to 300 people for $3.75 a person. You can even build your own nacho bar for $10.50 per person. All you need is a minimum of 15 people. In many cases, we can arrange delivery and full-service catering. We've even made it easy to get to-go items. You could just park at our front door in the alley, put on your flashes, and we'll get you going ASAP. For all your catering items and prices, go to hogsfly.com, click on menu, and drop down to catering.
Thank you, John. The Rendezvous, Mr. Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948 and celebrating its 75th year.
So you need to sell your house? I have the solution. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill at I Buy Houses. Any house, any area, as is. It's literally as simple as that. Just pick up your phone. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill at I Buy Houses. Guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your house fast, call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's Bill at I Buy Houses.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli, with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Now, back to Sports 56 Happy Hour with Johnny Radio. This hour is brought to you by Scooters Plus on Summer Avenue. Here once again is Johnny Radio.
Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes rabbit. He choke. He's so mad, but he won't give up. Daddies, he know he won't have it. He knows.
You know, I really like David Cobb from CBS. David Cobb, college football, college basketball writer from CBSSports.com. Yeah, I did. Kick, save, and a Butte.
That's right.
Yeah, I really like David a lot. Until
good guy.
Until I just found out a second ago he had the audacity to ask Bryant when he called about the Miami Hurricanes.
He's checking in on you. He's being a buddy.
So I guess I got to start here now. Go ahead, David. Let me hear it about Cristobal and all this other stuff. What do you think about what he did on the stupidity to not only not kneel in that game, he hasn't knelt since he was the coach at Miami, and I'm assuming he never knelt at Oregon either. Please, let me hear it about Cristobal.
Jay, I was going to ask how you're doing. I can kind of tell in your voice, though,
not well,
that it's been a rough few days. But hang in there, man. It can't get any worse than that. My gosh, that was as bad as it can get. So just think, if this is rock bottom for your fanhood, then you're going to be okay. Just reflect on the Final Four run that the men's basketball team made. Because I don't think the Mario Cristobal era of Miami football is going anywhere.
But certainly not at this point either. Do you think it's better, just to follow up, because I guess we're going to stay on this topic at this point because I have another question about it, is do you think it's better or worse that it wasn't, because a lot of people maybe didn't know necessarily that he doesn't choose to kneel ever. Do you think it's better or worse that it wasn't gross incompetence to not know the situation? They knew the situation and made a willing decision to not kneel to football. Does that make it better or worse for you?
It makes it worse. Oftentimes, though, you see coaches choose to continue running the football in the game if it's a 2 or 3 or 4 possession game, or even if they're on the losing side or the winning side. If it's a 17-point game or something, yeah, you'll see guys stat pad or get second team some reps, keep running the football until the clock says 0, right? But when you are in a conference game and it's a 1 possession game, and you're potentially 2 plays away from losing, the fact that you not to do that is inexplicable. And there's so many different layers that should have to go through. It falls on Cristobal, right? But the offensive coordinator should have a voice in that and make sure that doesn't happen. Heck, even the quarterback, a veteran now, and Tyler Van Dyke, I'm not blaming it on him. This is Cristobal's fault. But even him, Tyler Van Dyke, should be able to look at that call and that situation and say, you know what, no. I'm gonna kneel this football, right? Because there's just so much that can go wrong. It all went wrong, and I don't think Miami can recover from this season. I mean, the ACC was wide open. They had as good of a shot as anybody in this league, and now they've pretty much just wasted that away with this boneheadedness. Man, this is what I was afraid of when all the Miami fans thought Mario Cristobal was going to be their savior. if you looked at the way his teams played at Oregon, the results on the field failed to match up with the talent. The in-game decisions were mind-numbing even then. And the fact is, the dude is just a terrible game manager. It's just baffling. I mean, I'm still just – and sorry to make it worse, but okay, you know how Georgia Tech lost to Bowling Green?
Yeah, I do.
Well, Bowling Green turned around and lost 27-0 to Miami of Ohio. So, I mean, Georgia Tech might be really bad, and somehow went in there and beat Miami. So it's just still one of the most wackiest outcomes I've ever seen in college football.
And couple of the terrible decision making with a complete breakdown on defense in back-to-back plays in the secondary. I mean, it's just truly unbelievable. And you know what? I'll criticize Tyler Van Dyke. 3 picks in the game. Come on, man, be better. You're a veteran. It's unbelievable. All right, I'll get off the Miami Hurricanes at this point because we talked about it ad nauseum yesterday, and I'm getting worked up again even thinking about it. How about this one? Oh, no, it's Brian's turn to ask a question.
It's my turn?
Because we want to – David, you do a great job talking about college basketball and college football. So today we thought we'd give you like the ropes course of analysis. We're going to keep you on your toes, go back and forth between basketball and football here. Go ahead, Brian.
So here's your first basketball question, David, and I asked you a little bit about it. Yesterday, this Gonzaga story with the Big 12. I know your colleague Matt Norlander has been doing a lot of reporting and tweeting about this situation earlier this morning. It looks like this is a complete Brett Yormark thing. Obviously, a basketball guy at heart, really wanting to kind of load up the Big 12 and make the Big 12 a power basketball conference, and could potentially make it to where the Big 12 at the end of the decade could have separate media deals for football and basketball. The problem, he says, is a lot of ADs are not on board with Gonzaga joining the Big 12 right now. What have you heard, and what do you make of Brett Yormark trying to add Gonzaga to the Big 12 at this time?
Right. The idea of a conference having separate media rights deals for basketball and for football is innovative. It's unprecedented, and it's right in line with everything Brett Yormark has done in helping the Big 12 rise from the ashes of losing Texas and Oklahoma to remain relevant and keep their spot in the pecking order, but up behind the Big Ten and the SEC. I'm not sure why the ADs would be hesitant to embrace Gonzaga, because bringing Gonzaga in for a basketball-only deal would only heighten the revenue for all members of that league, I would think. And so I don't know what the reasoning behind the pushback is there, other than, hey, this is scary, we've never seen something like this before, and maybe that's part of it. But it's not like they should be afraid of Gonzaga coming in there and being a good basketball team. I mean, even without the Zags, the Big 12 is already going to be and has been and will continue to be arguably the best basketball conference in the country. So Yormark thinks basketball is undervalued. He's made that clear in the past. Is that true? I'm not totally sure. It's going to take some studies, probably some offers, some negotiating between the Big 12 and the TV executives here, because this hasn't really been done before. And you're competing with the NBA. November through December, you're competing with college football and the NFL. Even through January, you're still competing with the NFL, which has games on Monday nights, Thursday nights. Playoff football in the NFL is on days other than Sunday. So college basketball doesn't even have close to center stage in terms of television stuff until after the Super Bowl. And even then, you're still up against the NBA's regular season. So, yeah, I mean, I get where he's coming from, but I don't know that it works out financially quite like he envisioned it. But I'm not surprised to see him pushing in this direction. And if he pulls it off, it'll be another feather in his cap, because the guy's been really forward-thinking to this point in making the Big 12 relevant.
We're also competing with the National Hockey League, too, which you omitted from the things that they're competing with at this point, David, which they start today, and we'll have parting thoughts for you at the end of our segment with you today on all of your NHL thoughts. You can just unload them to us. Yeah. Back to college football here. For those of us that can't stay up that late usually, not saying it's me, but I know there's some people out there, what have we missed other than being the two best offenses in the country, I suppose, with Oregon and Washington? Oregon also leads the country in being bodacious. What should we expect on Saturday, and is this like a de facto playoff game out in the Pac-12?
Oh, I love this game. Oregon, Washington takes the center stage. Future Big Ten foes squaring off one last time in the Pac-12, although it's quite plausible that Oregon and Washington could play again in the Pac-12 title game. Remember, there's no North and South divisions in that league anymore, so the two teams with the best record in league play will play for the Pac-12 championship game, the final version of that as we know it. So it could just be meeting number one here between these teams, and it should be a great one. I think these are the two most complete teams in the Pac-12. And in Oregon's case in particular, their defense, their proven defense there, one that has consecutive games now held Pac-12 opponents to 6 points. So clearly have a little bit of defensive mojo there. And Washington does too, because think about the way that program was built prior to David DeBoer's arrival. Jay Lake, the predecessor to DeBoer, was a deep coach who got really talented defensive players in there. And I don't statistically have been nearly as good as Oregon defensively so far this season, but they still have some really good defensive players there. So maybe we're expecting this game with 1,200 yards that looks like a repeat of Ole Miss and LSU. But I think there's at least a chance here that the under is in play because there are good defensive players on both teams. And so we could see a little bit more offensive struggle than I think what we're expecting in this game.
So it sounds like also you think that at some point USC will falter where these two teams very well could meet in the championship.
I mean, USC's defense is so bad. It is so bad. So I'm doing bottom 25 right now, my new kind of weekly thing
Love
that
it.
I do.
That's great.
Up here in a little while. And one of the teams in the bottom 25 is San Jose State. All right, they're 1-5. They're one of the worst teams in the Mountain West. And the most points that they have scored on any opponent this season was in week 0 against USC when they scored 28. I mean, USC is so bad defensively. They are lucky right now to still be unbeaten. And I dropped them all the way down to like 11 or 12 in my CBS Sports ballot this week that we do each week. And I mean, they are hanging on by a thread, and they are going to lose at least once in the back half of the schedule. And they might lose this week against Notre Dame. Wouldn't be a league loss. They could still get to the Pac-12 title game with a loss to Notre Dame. But man, that Trojans defense it's abysmal. I mean, they're just bad. They're just bad defensively. And the sad part about it is that Lincoln Riley wants to continue to make excuses and continue to deflect, right? Like he refuses to really genuinely own up to the shortcomings they have defensively.
David, this actually kind of ties in with my next question for you, talking about Pac-12 teams. Is the best thing to come out of conference realignment the fact that Pac-12 Network will no longer be a thing?
Yeah, you could say that, absolutely. I guess but actually, I'll push back on that and say one of the worst parts about realignment is how a lot of this stuff is going streaming. Like, I really don't want to have to subscribe to Peacock to watch Big Ten basketball.
Oh,
this
it's
season.
great. You don't know what you're missing.
You got your Premier League over there.
Yeah.
I know. And I can't say anything about that, right? Because at CBS we have Paramount Plus.
Sure.
Some of the inventory is going
Also,
there.
Another great streaming service.
2 for 2. You're 2 for 2 right now, David.
I mean, no, they're great. Like I intermittently subscribe to all of them, right? And then I cancel one and get the other and do that whole thing, right? You can't have 25 of them at once unless you want to go bankrupt.
True.
But no, it's just, I mean, that's the part of it that I find irritating is it's so much easier to just flip between channels than it is to flip between streaming services where you got to get out of your Apple TV app and then fire the other one up and tell it you don't want them to track your information and then scroll through all the suggestions to finally find the game. You know what I mean? Like that's the irritating part to me about it. However, the expiration of the Pac-12 network, I think, is a good and long-awaited development for all of college sports.
Well, David,
let's send it to the CW.
Oh no, even worse.
No kidding.
I mean,
No kidding.
at least with these streaming services, I can sign up and watch a game. With Pac-12 Network, I mean, there's no workaround. I've got to go try to find Fubo and sign up with that.
I love Fubo, by the way, great one.
I mean, it's ridiculous. But I have missed a ton of games
underrated
because of the
Very.
streaming service.
I got to interrupt
man.
Brian. Great point by David. He said Fubo's underrated. I totally agree, especially if you're watching sports. They got everything.
They do, and if you got the Apple TV, you can do the 4-screen thing. Like everybody.
That's what
who has
Jay Morgan
YouTube
told
TV,
me.
Yeah, the YouTube TV crowd is like, we're loving this multi-view thing.
No, David, don't let them fool you. Nobody is loving the multi-view on
you
YouTube
can't pick
TV.
the games.
You can't pick the games. They're giving you terrible games.
But you can at Fubo. And
Bingo.
anyway, yeah. So just a little plug there. But yeah.
I love it. I want to ask you maybe about one of the worst Power 5 college basketball teams from last season, the Cal Bears. They were 3-29 last year. They did make some moves this offseason. Keontae Kennedy here from Memphis is now a Cal Bear. Fardal's Amac, who at one time was the top player in the transfer portal, is now a Cal Bear. They also added Jalen Cone from Northern Arizona. Devin Askew is back after having a good year for Cal last year. I mean, can Cal be competitive this year?
Yeah, random as heck to bring up the basketball, but I mean, I'm with you, man. I totally think it is. I mean, I'm riding the transfers as much as I do. The fact that Mark Madsen brought in that much talent, all those players you just listed, from a team for a program that won 3 games last season, it absolutely positions Cal to be competitive in the Pac-12. And if you're looking at, their odds or their chances of doing anything, is Titan get eligible, because he's like a draft prospect who played at Texas Tech. Same dude, right? Jay Morgan.
Bingo.
That's right.
Yeah. And so anyway, Tyson is a NBA caliber wing who has a shot to be one of the best players in the Pac-12, but he's got to get eligible because he's a second-time transfer. So that's a big one to watch. If he's eligible, Cal could make noise in that league. Even if he's not, they'll still be better. But he is one of several players around the country right now who are awaiting those 2-time transfer waivers that maybe we're not talking about that enough right now in college basketball, but in a local realm down in Oxford, I know that's a big point of discussion as well, because they've got a couple of guys on Chris Beard's first team who need that waiver as well. So
Moose is one of them, right?
Moose is one of them.
I believe he is, yeah. Unless he graduated from OK State, he would need a waiver. And then Brandon Murray, who played previously at LSU and Georgetown, is in the same boat. And Ole Miss, much like Cal, like if it gets those guys eligible somehow, then it totally elevates what they could accomplish. However, if you look at the football side of things and the Tez Walker case at North Carolina, it's become pretty clear the NCAA is not going to hand out these waivers willy-nilly. They've certainly tightened down and cracked down on the second-time transfers.
So what do they claim when they do that? Is everyone just claiming they have like a mental health disorder, or like what do you say in order to get something?
Yeah. The NCAA came out with like hard and fast guidelines in the spring that they approved, which I can't recite them off the top of my head, but it's far more stringent now. You can't just claim that, your uncle, has a heart condition and living 300 miles away from him instead of 450 would ease your family's burden. Like that was all you needed before, it seemed like. And now they're actually kind of checking on the legitimacy of some of this stuff. So I would say it's not looking great for Ole Miss necessarily, but look, I mean, Chris Beard's still a mastermind of a coach who can get more out of that Ole Miss roster even without those 2-time guys than a lot of coaches would.
Didn't Alan Flanagan, didn't he get his waiver last week? He's an Ole Miss guy, right?
If he did, it's huge. If he did, obviously a guy who's played at Auburn at a high level for some good teams in that league, struggled to really carve out a consistent role, but I mean, he was really good in flashes. So I think he should be fine because he graduated.
I see.
It's kind of hard. Even if you go to Memphis's basketball roster right now, it's guys like Malcolm Sanders graduate, but then it doesn't have some of these transfers listed as graduate, even though they have graduate.
Right.
And so, like, I was going through their roster the other day, and I think it didn't have Quinterly and Brown as graduate, and I started kind of panicking a little bit. I was like, wait a second now, like these guys don't need waivers, do they? Because that would totally change the dynamic for Memphis. I think they're pretty much set in that respect. I don't know of any of those guys at Memphis who need a waiver. It just depends on kind of like how the programs classify them. And then you also have guys who remain at their prior institution academically, like through the summer term, to try to graduate. So it's, like I said, I don't know that this is being discussed enough around college basketball right now, but if you're really trying to get in the weeds on who's going to be a contender or not, the two-time transfer stuff is a really important element of all that.
Absolutely.
One more football question for you, David, then we got to get you out of here probably. Tuesday night football is back tonight. It's part of that string of how many days? Like 50 days, Bryant?
Oh, yeah.
Like 50 days where there's football
all
on
the way
every
up
night.
until like the week of Thanksgiving.
And so I'm really excited to watch some of these games tonight. It's a good opportunity to watch some smaller college football. I'm going to take this opportunity, knowing how much you cover college football, to ask you about these games. How can you get me ready, pump it into my veins? What game or games do I need to watch tonight?
I mean, look, are we finally going to see Middleton win a game against FBS? So here, they're pretty consistent under Rick Stock still, but they've been trashed this season. So got to figure that one out. And then look, I mean, those are two of the most fun teams in college football. So that should be a fun one. I'm here in the mid-state area for several weeks. Posted up in Nashville. I don't know. Maybe I should.
Hey, maybe you should.
Check out the Warriors, man. I don't know. I never been to a game at Floyd Stadium, but I hear it can be electric.
Oh, why not? Especially on a weeknight? Oh, man. That sounds electric.
A lot of home dogs tonight, too. Jacksonville State a home dog against Liberty. I don't know about all that.
I don't know about all that.
But, David, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it. John will be back next week, so you won't have to deal with all the tomfoolery. But we appreciate you joining us. David Cobb, by the way, from CBS Sports, college basketball, college football writer. I always forget to plug what you do, but thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, no problem. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, David. Back after this.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Of course, 117 Prime, Memphis' premier downtown dining destination, has hands down the best steaks in Memphis, and the selection of other entrees rivals any restaurant in town. But let's just take a second to talk about appetizers, the beginning of every great meal. 117 Prime offers perfectly sliced Mishima Wagyu beef carpaccio, lobster salad with cold water lobster knuckle, mussels in red curry. Mouth-watering yet? All these wonders are there to start your meal at 117 Prime. Imagine where it will go from there.
Visit Frontier Western Store today for new shirts and boots. Frontier is your top Carhartt store in the Mid-South. There's thousands of in-stock shirts and jeans. They have the classic K87 pocket tee in every color they make, including new ones just released. Available small to 4X. Want new jeans? Frontier has you covered with super tough work denim by Carhartt. And you've got to check out their selection of Ariat jeans for men, women, and children. You'll love how easy it is to find the size and style you need. Have you seen Frontier's remodeled world-famous boot showroom? It continues to expand. New styles by Ariat just arrived, plus plenty of in-stock proven classics too. Whether you need work or dress boots, trust that Frontier's the place to come. See thousands of pairs of Ariat boots and thousands more by Dan Post, Corral, Durango, Rocky, Twisted X, and others. And Frontier's pricing is lower than online and chain stores, so you know just the local shop to visit. Frontier Western Store, 5880 Goodman Road in Olive Branch, and on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Locally owned and operated since 1967.
Country music singer-songwriter Kylie Morgan loves her ring from Genesis Diamonds.
I wanted something simple and with the stone that I loved, and that's exactly what he got. And then we dressed it up a little bit with the wedding bands, got a little firework action looking around it, and he definitely killed it when it came to choosing the ring.
Kylie's then-fiancé Jay did a lot of research, but chose Genesis because of the reputation, the quality, the personal service, and of course, the value.
Any man can walk through that door and know that, he's not going to be upsold or pressured to buy anything.
Kylie ended up writing a collection of songs about her bridal experience, including the viral sensation Bridesmaids.
I had at least 1,000 DMs asking from future brides where I got my ring, who I worked with because of the viral song. I think everyone kind of just looked at me as the person to ask.
And Kylie's advice to all those girls?
Go to Genesis. It's been a great experience, and they'll take care of you.
Genesis Diamonds at Poplar and Perkins Extended.
Join us for the Memphis Police Department Hiring Expo Saturday, October 21st, 2023 from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 170 North Main Street downtown. We'll be taking applications and interviewing candidates on site. Salary starting at $54,611, increasing to $60,713 after probation. Benefits include a $15,000 sign-on bonus, up to $10,000 relocation assistance. For more information or details, visit joinmpd.com.
As the leaves change, leave the hiring to Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring platform helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates, all from one place. And Indeed's interview tool lets you schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from their website. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Now, back to Sports 56 Happy Hour with Johnny Radio. This hour is brought to you by Scooters Plus on Summer Avenue. Here once again is Johnny Radio.
Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes rabbit. He choke. He's so mad, but he won't give up. Daddies, he know he won't have it. He knows his whole back to these ropes. It don't matter. He's dope. He knows that, but he's broke. He's so stagnant. He knows when he goes back to this mobile home. That's when it's back to the lab again, yo. This old rhapsody better go capture this moment and hope it don't do better. Lose yourself in the music. The moment you own it, you better never let it go. You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime.
On NHL Network right now, they're going team by team and picking over-under point totals for the season.
Point totals?
70.5 Ducks this year. You going over-under?
Under. Yeah.
Wow. You would be the only one. They all went over.
Wow. A lone wolf. Ow!
Pretty good lone wolf.
Thank you.
First lone wolf ever.
Thank you.
One thing we're going to do here, Brian, I talked about this yesterday at the end of the show. So one thing I want to do this week, it's October, and it's spooky season, as they say, right? Spooky season.
Okay.
And there's a lot of cool, good movies that are associated with spooky season, Halloween, that is. And so I thought it would be fun if this week with the audience, if we engage in something I call a Halloween watch-along, or a Hallow-watch-along, if you will. So a Hallow-watch...
I accidentally turned my mic off when I said I like it.
Yeah, thank you. But I needed the encouragement. That's why I was giving you the pause there so I could get the encouragement that I was so much desiring. So the Hallow-watch-along last night, it started with a great movie, one of my favorites, certainly for Halloween, Beetlejuice. 1988 movie by Tim Burton. I love Tim Burton too. Michael Keaton's in it. Gina Davis plays Michael Keaton plays Beetlejuice. Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin are a married couple. Winona Ryder is in it. Catherine O'Hara, Jeffrey Jones, who's the principal in Ferris Bueller. So first it was Bryant, and you watched it with your girlfriend Melinda.
Sure did,
she didn't have a lot of thoughts, you said, but I was welcoming to her thoughts.
You were.
But
she's not much of a public speaker, though. So.
Well, she didn't have to come in and give the
no,
thoughts.
I know, but I mean, I think the idea of my thoughts are going to be shared on the radio.
So shh, tonight we're going to watch another movie.
Yeah.
Don't tell her that you're going to use her thoughts, but make sure you jot them down. What did you think?
Mm-hmm.
What did you think, Mo? If you guys are like Joe Buck and his wife, what did you think, babe? Nothing, babe. Anyway, it was
good job, babe.
It was Bryant's first time watching Beetlejuice, so I want to get your thoughts first, and I've got plenty of thoughts here. I'll interject as I go. What did you think of Beetlejuice, Bryant? And we'll rate it at the end here. So, what did you think of Beetlejuice?
First off, Alec Baldwin, eerily similar to Ryan Gosling in terms of appearance.
He was doing a lot of drugs back in
Maybe,
those days.
but I thought both of them looked very identical.
He's
to
very
each other.
svelte,
yes,
but without like the muscle definition that generally comes with the svelteness.
That
I think.
is, yes.
But anyway, I don't want to reckless speculation.
I thought he did a great job. First off, the beginning of the movie, where they're like in the attic and the phone starts ringing. Somebody answer the phone. I mean that bugs
drives
me.
you nuts, doesn't
I
it?
mean, somebody answer the phone. I thought it was entertaining. Very goofy movie.
Very goofy movie.
But I thought it was fun.
A mix of like Tim Burton style with comedy.
See, this is my first Tim Burton movie. So like,
you have never seen Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
Oh, okay, I have seen Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Okay, second.
I'm sure there's another one you've seen, but he has a distinct style, like, and I'm sure you've seen like commercials for like The Nightmare Before Christmas and stuff like that. You know, like that's a very distinct style. The original Batman was him. Alice in Wonderland, if you ever seen that.
So are they coming out with a second?
Yeah, they announced it last year, but Alec Baldwin is not involved. I think he is like poisoned at this point after he murdered somebody on a set. They don't. No one asked him to do anything anymore. So that's kind of sad in those regards. Dark Shadows. Did you ever see Dark Shadows? And then you never watched the Wednesday show. I believe Tim Burton was involved in Wednesday.
I watched the first episode. It was terrible, and I stopped watching it.
Well, that's fair. But I think he was a producer on that. He wasn't necessarily the director. I'm not exactly sure. But the first Batman he directed. Anyway, we're getting on a tangent of Tim Burton. But I really liked it a lot. You got the stop motion that he's so good at. Stop motion animation, that is. Cool. It's really good. It's really neat stuff. And then, like I said, the set design, there's lots of everything is at a slant. Everything is tilted. The camera's on its side. Everything's weird. And my favorite line.
Very artistic.
The
whole movie's which I really liked.
My favorite line in it is when the first time, so spoiler alert, Alec Baldwin's character and Gina Davis's character, they're dead.
Yes.
They're not living.
It took us a couple seconds to realize that they were no longer with us in the physical realm.
Well, it took them a couple of seconds as well in the movie.
They walked in the house. I was like, Munda, I think they're dead. And Munda was like, no, they're not. They're not dead. You can literally see them. I was like, Munda, I think they're dead. And then they look into a mirror. I was like, see, I told you, they're dead.
They drove off a bridge and died, but it was supposed to be ambiguous at that point in time, so can't blame anybody. Yeah, no, spoiler alert, movie that came out 40 years ago. But the Maitlands, that's Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis' characters, the Maitlands, when they go to I don't know, it's not but they go to the death realm or whatever for the first time, and you have
the waiting room,
and it's very bureaucratic. You have to sit in a waiting room or whatever.
They take a number,
and they're sitting next to these people that do not look human. They look otherworldly. It's insane.
Hilarious.
And one of them smoking a cigarette and asks Alec Baldwin, "They're dead, by the way. Want a cigarette?" And he goes, "No, thanks." He goes, "Yeah, I'm trying to cut back myself." Why? You're dead. You know what I mean? There's no reason to stop smoking. You're already dead. It's ridiculous.
I also
trying to cut back myself.
I also really appreciate at the very end where when Beetlejuice gets sent back to that same room.
What did you think of Beetlejuice? It's one of my favorite Michael Keaton roles.
I thought he was hilarious. One, I thought he was a little too goofy, but I thought it was funny. The voice was great too. But he goes back to the waiting room, and the guy beside him has the number 4, and he has the number 9,700,000, and we get an Elvis reference. I mean, look, there's Elvis, which anytime I get an Elvis reference, I love. I look at Melinda, I'm like, did you hear that too, or is that just me? And she was like, no, I heard it. Now you love the movie. I was like, well, look, I mean, I didn't put the Elvis reference in there.
I love it. Michael Keaton is one of my favorite actors, and this, I think, is my favorite role of his. Beetlejuice is such... I also love that it's spelled Beetlegeist.
Yes.
With a G, and so you have to know how to pronounce the name.
Yes.
And, the whole thing. Also, so his character is excellent. My other favorite character in this movie is their caseworker, Juno.
Oh, she's great.
And then, at some point, so they meet Juno for the first time, and she gives them all these warnings, and is ridiculing them because they're just terrible ghosts. They don't know how to haunt
They
people.
don't know how to scare anybody.
They're just too nice. And then they go back to her for coaching or stuff like that. And then behind her is this football team that died in a crash. And they keep calling her coach. And she's like, listen, I'm not your coach.
Yeah.
Your coach survived. And they're like, Coach, where's the bathroom? Where's the bathroom? Read a sign. Get out of here.
And then they come back in and they go, hey, Coach, I think we're dead. And how long did it take you to get that one?
She's a great character. The late Sylvia Sidney is really funny. A rare comedy movie also includes a sincere suicide note from Winona Ryder at one point in time, where she says she's going to plummet to her death. But it's also less
I liked her character a lot.
Winona Ryder's character is really good in it. She's super dark, and that's less of a dark tone because you know that you're going to live when you die. So it's not you know what I mean?
And she's the only one that can see the ghosts at first. It's great.
It's really good. Two other scenes, and then I want to I want to give a final thought on it as well, and then we have to give our rating. Is there's 2 Harry Belafonte scenes where they sing Deo at the beginning, and at the end they do Shake Sonora. At the very end, everyone's dancing. It's so good. Great musical numbers, and also they create tension in the culminating action based on the characters simply whether or not they'll say a man's name. And that's brilliant. It's not like there's tension of maybe they're gonna get scared, maybe they're not. Is it gonna work? Is it gonna not? It's will they say his name? Such a simple idea to create that much tension. Brilliant movie. My Letterboxd score, Letterboxd is an app you can track all your movies. My Letterboxd score, this is not my Halloween rating. My Letterboxd score is 3.5, but we have different ratings for Halloween because you only rate them against Halloween movies. Do you want to give your Halloween rating first or me?
I'll give mine first.
Okay, you go
and this
first.
might change. This is subject to change because the more I'm talking about it, the more I realize I enjoyed it a lot more last night when I was watching it, now talking about it again. And maybe after watching a whole week's worth of Halloween movie, it might move up there.
Rank high.
Right now, 3 jack-o'-lanterns and
out of 5.
Out of 5, and we'll add a candy corn on there.
Oh, a candy corn. Yeah, Wow. So I gave it 4 jack-o'-lanterns and 2 trick-or-treats.
Wow.
Maybe 1 trick and 1 treat.
Wow.
How about that? So I really enjoyed it. So we'll talk later. We're going to watch, I'll say it now for one thing. We're going to watch Young Frankenstein tonight.
Another movie I've never seen.
I'll give a more in-depth preview tonight. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, but that was last night. Please watch with us, too. Like, it's Halloween. It's this time of year.
Gets you in the spirit.
It really gets you in the spirit. It's a lot of fun, and it probably will make it more interesting to listen to here. But if you already liked Beetlejuice, please, great stuff. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Zach Boyd. Back after this.
When you're watching the Tigers play or whatever team you support, you always look for the end result, the winning score. And when you're thinking of selling your home, the ultimate goal line is the closing table. This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Marks Bensdorf Realtors. Getting your home sold for what you want and when you want it makes everyone happy. You should talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers when you're thinking of selling your home, and make sure I'm one of them, especially if you want results. Most people have heard that when you want the job done, you need to call Shell Done. Call or email me today and find out about my highly successful strategic marketing program with the Shellbucks option. You can reach me at 682-1868 or memphisrelocate.com. That's Shell Dunn Rosengarten. Call today at 682-1868 or memphisrelocate.com. And go Tigers!
It's time for the Fall Haul at Northern Tool and Equipment. Get your hands on tough tools at prices that are tough to ignore. Got plans? Cancel them. Trucks in the shop? Borrow someone else's. Don't like saving money? Right. So head to the Fall Haul at Northern Tool. Back up the truck for the season's biggest event and save on generators, power tools, trailers, and more. Shop in-store or at northerntool.com. We're made for this.
Fall into a hiring spree with Indeed. Their end-to-end hiring solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Sponsor a job and instantly receive a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
The 4-1 Memphis football team is home Friday, October 13th at 6 o'clock for a huge conference matchup against Tulane for first place in the conference. It's wrestling night. Enjoy the matches on Tiger Lane and meet and greet with the wrestlers inside the stadium. Tickets start at just $20 to watch this big-time conference matchup. Be at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium Friday, October 13th at 6 o'clock. Purchase your tickets today at GoTigersGoTix.com.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations.
But you gotta be willing to take the hit and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
Now, back to Sports 56 Happy Hour on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Tito's Vodka. Here once again, Johnny Radio.
About to talk to Zach Boyd at Rack City Zach on Twitter X. I'm stopping myself now because, you know, everyone's been saying, like, when you talk about Twitter and X, or like Twitter X, whatever you want to call it. No, I'm not going to say that ever again, except for right there explaining why I'm not saying it anymore. Just call it Twitter X, or if I say Twitter, it's just going to be Twitter. If I say X, it's going to be X. I'm refusing to allow myself to say Twitter X, whatever you call it anymore. I'm just going to say what I say and leave it there.
I just call it Twitter. I'm not changing.
We've got, yeah, you're stuck. That's really consistent with actually everything I know about you, considering your eating habits and otherwise. Today also, before we get to Zach, Mavericks play at Real Madrid, and I'm seeing now that Real Madrid's arena is called the...
What do we know about Real Madrid's lineup?
The Wiz Inc. Center.
I like that.
No, it's actually the Wiz Inc. Center, but it's so close to calling... I mean, I just love an arena that would be named Wiz, you know, like urinating.
We also get to see Amani tonight.
How about that?
I'm excited about that.
Are you excited about that? Well, you don't know that you're going to see him necessarily.
Sure, we'll see Amani. I hope we see Amani.
Oh, don't we all hope we see Amani? Well, without further ado, let's talk to Zach. Like I said, Rack City Zach on Twitter and X, I should say. God,
the Bird app.
I'm just getting well, it's not a bird anymore either, Bryant. And he also not only works here for us, I believe he works also for the Tri-State Defender, and he also works with the Grizzlies on game day in the radio department as well. So he is a man of many talents, many jobs, and he's pretty much spread thin doing everything he's doing right now. Zach, first of all, you were at game one. What were your impressions after one game? Let's start with the positives. What impressed you the most in their overtime win?
Well, first and foremost, fellas, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Zach.
Like we got I'm black. We got to start off with pleasantries first.
Oh, you got to.
I apologize on behalf of both of us for that, Zach.
Hello, Zach.
What's going on? Game one, the first preseason game. It felt weird. I think that's the word that everybody's using. It felt a little weird being back. It's like, okay, like we know it's Grizzlies preseason, but it's like, is it really Grizzlies preseason basketball? Until we saw the team on the court, it was like, okay, yeah, like the Grizzlies they're finally about to play some basketball here in the next few weeks. Impressions? I mean, look, I thought D Rose from what I thought going into media day, I thought D Rose was just going to be a locker room guy. I knew he was going to play some within these 25 games. I knew he was going to get some action if there's like some injuries. But man, like watching him play that first half and just see the shiftiness of his drive to the basket. I mean, it's like, yo, like this dude really hasn't lost a. Now he lost a step a lot of bit because he doesn't have that athletic juice like he once had.
But in terms of what he's been like the last 5 years or so.
Yeah, like the wiggle is still there. He's still kind of leaving his defenders kind of like standing still at most. So I was really surprised to see Rose. I shouldn't be surprised, but I was surprised to see the wiggle and the shiftiness there that he still has that. And I'm thinking to myself like, yeah, he might not. He's going to play more than 25 games this upcoming season, for sure. Steven Adams, obviously, is great to see the big man back on the floor because we haven't seen him since January of early this year.
Yeah.
So it's great to see number 4 back on the floor for the team. I think for the most part, it's just been ho-hum. You know, first preseason game, nothing too much to take away from it. Yeah, I think once I guess tonight's game, and then like once they get on the road to face the next 3 opponents, I think that's when I'll start to kind of have some form of an opinion. But the first game for me, it was just more of like, okay, like let's just see the guys get up and down the court. Let's see the young guys, see how they're doing and what, you know, how they improve coming into the season. So it was basically just like a big pep rally in a sense because everybody haven't seen each other in a long time. So it was like, hey, how you doing?
That's a really good way to put it, too, because, like, I was at the arena, and it was a super positive environment, and, like, calling it a pep rally, that's a really good way to put it. Like, it was, like, very rarely do you go in an arena. I remember I went to WWE Raw when it was there, and this is a weird comparison to make, but, like, I had never been to a sporting event like that where everyone is, like, you're always cheering on the same team, but there's a certain level of anxiety in the gym, but there was no anxiety when you're watching wrestling because all that stuff is scripted, and everyone is just, it's a really positive environment to be in, and that's kind of what felt like being in the first preseason game. So I love that it's being called a pep rally. That's a great term you just used right there because that's a lot like what it was like. It was great to see Derrick Rose out there. People loved that. He hit that pull-up 3, like you said, that really gave people a lot of confidence in the way he was playing some nice floaters as well. What about this? Late in that game, not even late. It started in the third quarter, like mid-third quarter. So it was kind of early in the second half of this game. Guys were getting on the floor and diving. And then it goes to overtime, and it seemed like both teams wanted to win. Any positives you take from that?
I would say Kenneth Lofton Jr. is still a bucket getter. Man, that has not changed. That has not changed, ladies and gentlemen. That he is still a bucket. I Jake has did some really nice things like towards the end of the game. I know he kind of, I think once they kind of pulled all the regular rotation guys out, you kind of saw him kind of asserting himself a little bit more. I mean, it was just ho hum, like, oh, okay, this is gonna be this is your Memphis Hustle starting lineup here, like on the floor to close the game out for y'all. I do think, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself while you was talking about who I want to see on the floor, thinking about like improvements or who I want to see. Gigi Jackson, like, I think, I mean, he's the one that thing that stands out. He's that shiny little toy that that it could turn into something if you buy it and you just hold on to it a little longer. But then again, it could go sideways with it. That's what I'm looking at with Gigi. Now, with his athleticism, and again, like how they closed out that game, he was playing a four, which
small.
I think from a future standpoint, I think once he kind of developed his body, I think that would be one of those things where it could be like a Paul George playing the four type of thing, or maybe Kawhi playing the four type, where they're strong enough to hold up against the taller fours, but then they can spread the floor and still do their thing. I mean, like, he could. I think he showed like some nice flashes. I know he got a bucket down in the paint, and then he blocked I forgot who he blocked.
Crazy.
The shot. I was like, oh wait, it's like, is that Gigi? I'm like, yes, it is. Like, so I think his development could be very key to all of this. It could make things very shaky for a lot of players that's on the main squad right now. And I think if the coaching staff continues to put the ball in their hands, which I'm more than sure that's always the goal, just to make everybody to be a triple threat at some point. Mm-hmm. But if he could continue to like develop his handling, his decision making, and even like his own shot selection and craftiness, like, I think that will work out really well, because I don't want him to end up like Jonathan Kuminga with the Warriors, where all he does is play the small ball 4-5, and he doesn't handle the ball. Right. I think Gigi can handle it. It's just you kind of got to rein it in, because he's like a wild horse when he gets the ball in his hands at the moment. But it's gonna be like, I think his development. I'm interested to see about his extended play against regular NBA rotation players.
Right. Zach, you were talking about that kind of final group of guys that closed out that game. A lot of people after that game talking about Jake LaRavia with some of the things he did in overtime and that fourth quarter.
Goggles.
Right now, yeah, really. Right now, do you think he is on the outside of the rotation trying to play his way in?
For right now, I think he is.
Probably good.
But listen. Air LaRavia, baby. That junk at the end was kind of crazy.
That was nasty.
That was crazy. I was sitting in my seat. I was like, okay, he punched that with his left hand. Like, okay, like, I was like, LaRavia trying to get some more juice coming in, trying to take somebody's spot. I think it's always very tricky, especially with young players, because you want, especially with this organization, this team, like they have been very, very open of playing their young guys and letting them make mistakes. Now that they're kind of starting to form into this championship window, which I think it started like last year, like you might have to sit a LaRavia, because guys ahead of him are playing well. Now, from a future standpoint, I would love for at some point LaRavia just take John Conchar's spot. Not to say that John is a bad player or he can't do his role well, but I just think that from a timeline standpoint, I think you expect LaRavia to take his spot at some point. But to start the season, because they got so many guys that they're confident in playing at the moment, like, yeah, he's on the outside looking in. Do I see him having a sense in the G League? Probably not. I think they might send him down just to kind of stay, keep him loose him within the flow of game flow action. But I think, for right now, he's outside looking in for Laredo.
OLI. How about this one, Zach? So we talked about positives. That's a lot of positive things we just said. It's radio. We got to talk about concerns and negatives. How about this? Biggest concern that it doesn't have to necessarily have been brought up in that game in just one preseason game. Maybe it's a concern that you've had all off season. Maybe it's something that was more solidified watching that game Sunday. What is your biggest concern at this point about the Memphis Grizzlies?
I mentioned this before when I was hosting a Twitter space during I think an off season or two ago. I would
Rack
love,
City Zach on Twitter, by the way.
By the way, no, shameless plug. I would love that at some point they would have addressed having a much bigger big. For size context. Because again, you're talking about when Steven Adams went out, it was Jaren at the 5, which is cool. I'm fine with Jaren playing at the 5. You had BC kind of playing sort of a pseudo, Steven Adams role, so you can get away with that. But when BC went down, and then you had to play Santi and Tillman, then it started to kind of get a little tight because then you was playing a lot of bigs that had some height to them, and you pretty much everybody knows the whole Jaren and his foul situations or whatever, or him getting himself into foul trouble.
But
you didn't have that.
He does other things so well, though. That's just it doesn't have to be his game to be a banger like Steven Adams either. You know what I mean? He has his own strengths.
Right, and I said this before, and I know a couple of people that agree with me said this. Jaren is really a perimeter big. It's just he's 7 feet tall, and people just expect him to be a banger.
That's right.
And that's not his game. He's more of a finesse player. Now, he did say in media days that he is focusing on rebounding more, which is cool. That's fine.
And it's the right thing to say too to the media.
Of course. But again, the reason why he won Defensive Player of the Year was because he was a shot blocker.
Right.
He was blocking shots. He was defending the rim. And so with every shot blocker, when you're running and contesting at the rim, you're going to take yourself out of play to get rebounds.
Exactly.
And so the thing is we can nitpick. We can sit here and nitpick about his rebounding, and because he's 7 feet tall, he should be getting 8 to 10 rebounds. Sure, we can, but as his main skill set is to block shots. It's to stop the driver at the rim. It's not letting the people score. That's the whole point of the game of basketball, is not letting people score.
Zach,
on
it's like people want to put him in an isolation booth and ignore all of his teammates and say, well, look, all these other people do this. But the fact of the matter that the Grizzlies were able to complement him so well with a guy like Steven Adams, and they put him in a position where he can get all those blocks, those are all positive things. Jaren doesn't have to do all that stuff because of his teammates, right?
Yeah, again, also, Steven Adams is one of the strongest human beings in the NBA.
Kidding.
Sure is.
Yes, Steve-O. Grab as many rebounds as you want. We finna outlet it. We finna play some transition basketball.
He was leading the league when he went down last year.
Yes. So, we can sit here and talk bad about Jaren, about his rebounding. It didn't help with Steve as well because Steve Kerr was playing him out of position anyway, and was refusing to play a big with him the entire tournament. And that's a whole nother debate whether I want to get into later. I pretty want to talk about that.
Not after one preseason game.
Yeah, not after one preseason game. But I think for right now, with if they would have addressed another big with size, I would have been okay, cool. Then just in case Steve-O gets hurt again, we can move on in that direction. But I think they are very confident in Xavier Tillman's play, especially towards the back end, having to replace Steven Adams. That they're very confident that he can replace that same production if Steve-O goes out with injury. And then then Tillman talked about wanting to play the 4 or play the 5 a little more, kind of space the floor out for Jaren after watching the FIBA tournament, seeing how they're using Jaren on offense or playing him at the 5. So we'll see. We'll see all the, little wrinkles that's going to be played out here in the next couple of games. But if there's one thing that's probably the main thing, and probably perimeter defense. That's but we'll see Marcus Smart here in these next couple of games.
Yeah, no, important to mention that he set out as well. Man, I had so much stuff I wanted to ask you, but I just get so caught up in talking what you're talking about. I just keep going with you. But I'll just ask this, because we basically previewed tonight's game against Milwaukee with everything we just talked about. I'll ask you about the Grizzlies' opponent from that first game, a team that everybody got to see if they watched the game. What did you think of the Pacers coming into the season after one preseason game? What do you think of the way that team's constructed?
Young squad. I love Halliburton.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wasn't sure about him coming in because of that funky release, but when he was playing with Sacramento, I was like, okay, like, this dude play. Like, he can, like forget the release. Like, he can play. He can play. So he can play defense. He can distribute the ball really well. Get his guys in the right spot. So, I mean, I really think they got a nice collection of young players, especially around the perimeter, with Mathurin. Who's the other?
Buddy, they got Buddy Hield too.
Buddy Hield, but I think he might get traded
Brett
later
Brown.
on in the year.
Not Brett Brown. Bruce Brown.
Bruce Brown is another vet. By the way, salute to the man for getting the bag.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We all strive to be like him one day and get the bag.
Also to be able to go to another really good, I think that's a really good roster they got there, and a great coach too. So it's not like he went to just some bum team for some money. He got a good team that gave him money too.
Oh yeah, like the Pacers. The Pacers were a good team. Like they were kind of like fighting for playing spot, but injuries kind of got in the way. They lost Halliburton for like a huge chunk of the back end of their schedule last year.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're a feisty bunch, young squad. There's still questions. Like I said, with Buddy Hield, what they're going to do with him. Miles Turner's name has been floating around in trade rumors for like the last 5 years.
Forever. Talking about guys that can't bang. Jeez.
Yeah. So right now it's just a matter of, okay, cool. Like if these are the vets that they want to keep around, then cool. Let's see how it's going to work out these first 25 to 30 games with this core. Because they could very well just flip them and say, well, let's just keep this young core together and let's go ahead and get some more assets and kind of build this team up and add some more use to this squad. So that could be the case.
Could go no matter what, and also a really good coach too. Not to mention that as well.
And Jarris Walker, young guy from Houston.
Had to mention Jarris
Walker.
Got to.
When I was,
he had like 4 or 5 threes in that game. It was unreal.
I was gonna say,
man,
go ahead, Zach.
I started having flashbacks, man.
I mean, man.
For Houston. So I was like, yo, sir, like you don't play for Houston anymore. You with the Indiana Pacers, sir.
We got to get to.
But no, it was a good thing.
We got to get to a break, but I got to give a final thought for Zach. You mentioned how good Halliburton was. Never forget last season. So the season where Halliburton broke out.
The one last year.
The one last season. Right. The one where he was really good. Wally Zerbiak called him a fake all-star. Never forget that for the rest of the time. It's a ridiculous thing to say. Zach Boyd joins us. You can hear Zach every morning on Sports 56 Mornings. You can read what he does at the Tri-State Defender. You can also maybe spot him at a Grizzlies game working with the radio team as well. Zach is everywhere when it comes to sports in Memphis. He's at all of the games and stuff like that. Zach joins John every week at noon. Thanks so much, Zach.
Thanks, Zach.
I appreciate it, guys. Y'all have fun for the rest of the day. How about that?
You too, man. We'll see you. Back after this.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11, here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Simple, smooth, and every sip as easy as the last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does with your favorite mixer. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand-bottled, taste-tested, sent to a few friends, then taste-tested again to give you the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff. Just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
Wendy's new breakfast 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles let you create your own delicious combo. Choose from a sausage biscuit, egg and cheese biscuit, small seasoned potatoes, and a medium hot coffee. But it's obvious which combo's the best. Sausage biscuit and small seasoned potatoes. Well, maybe it's the fresh cracked egg and cheese biscuit with a medium hot coffee. Or 2 savory sausage biscuits. Whichever you pick, you can't go wrong. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's new 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles.
Limited time only. U.S. price and participation may vary. Not valid in a combo. Single item at regular price.
Wow, I feel good. Shopping at Drive Max. Drive Max. Drive Max. You get value.
Need a car that screams I feel good? DriveMax has it all. From cars to SUVs, find a tightly inspected used car that'll have you dancing all the way home. Call 901-664-2424 or visit DriveMaxApproval.com.
DriveMax, I got approved.
Hun, we need to stop putting off getting life insurance.
I know. It's just been so busy, and I'm sure the cost is out of our budget.
Well, Jen told me that they got a $500,000 term life insurance policy from Ethos for less than $23 a month. All online with no complicated forms and no medical exam. All they had to do was answer a few health questions.
Wait, no medical exam and all online?
I know, right? It's not easy to think about, but if something happened to you, James and I would be...
Okay, I get it. Let's get a quote from Ethos right now. Wow, you were right. There's no medical exam. And Ethos makes the whole online process fast and easy. And look at these rates and coverage options. It's great protection and totally fits our budget.
Ethos. They've removed all the barriers from getting coverage. Go to checkethos.com to get your free online quote. That's checkethos.com. Quote based on a healthy, non-smoking 30-year-old male with a 20-year term policy. Rates may vary.
Want to play a private country club but only pay daily greens fees? Meadowbrook Country Club in West Memphis is your place. You can now play a beautiful, challenging course for only $59 plus tax, including cards. Meadowbrook Country Club features champion Bermuda greens and now is available to everyone. A membership is only $350 per month and includes tennis, pickleball, and swimming, plus a great restaurant and bar. Golf Pro Mark can even fix you up with custom-made tricks on clubs. Call 870-394-4186 today for your Tuesday through Sunday tee time at Meadowbrook Country Club in West Memphis.
That's one of those things. When things get too heavy, just call me helium.
Now, back to Sports 56 Happy Hour on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Tito's Vodka. Here once again, Johnny Radio.
Per usual during the show, stuffing my face.
I mean, yeah, look, you eat a lot of healthy food, but you eat a lot of food.
Yeah.
Not really. It's just you eat it so spaced out that it looks like a lot of food.
Or I scarf it all down at once.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like every break you're like scarfing something down. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sure to people listening, they're like, good Lord, does this guy not stop eating? Yeah. But it's really just like you had an apple the last break. You're eating these little kale chips
and
this
I almost
break.
didn't finish that apple, too.
You didn't. I thought I was going to have to bring us back and talk about how you were chomping down on an apple.
Choked to death during the break.
Oh, really? You're over there like choking on the ground. I'm like, what do I do? Do I bring it back? Do I go help him?
Yeah, do I give him the Heimlich or
really.
do we make sure we have something on the air right now? Which one's more
I vote
important?
have stuff on the air.
Yeah,
I mean, the
agree.
listeners deserve material.
I'll just keel over and die, but we won't have dead air.
That's right.
That's what's more important
Dead air is worse than dead person.
That's right, on the power rankings of things that
That's
are
right.
bad. Oh, man. I had so much to talk about today, Bryant. Like, we're not going to get to so much of the stuff here, so we're going to combine.
Well, hey, good thing we have tomorrow and the next day and the next day.
So we got plenty of time to talk about this stuff.
It's already Tuesday. This week's flying by.
It really is. Well, I mean, it's only the second day of the week flying by. So we'll move some of this stuff to tomorrow, but I got a lot of fun topics, especially about baseball. We'll talk about more of those tomorrow. But I have to say, for the first time in, I don't know, forever, watching baseball or maybe even any sport, I literally jumped out of my seat with excitement, pumped my fist, and yelled, "Bleep you!" at Bryce Harper
Wow.
when he got thrown out at first base. I was so excited.
Now you're wearing your Braves jersey.
I literally got so excited. Because I hate Bryce, that freaking bum, man. I bleep you. Sit the bleep down. Bleep off.
Hey,
Get the
good.
bleep out of here. I mean, I was just screaming at him. I was so excited. My dog's looking at me like I'm crazy. I mean, literally, like perched up, like looking at me like, what in the world is going on here? I was fired up. So much so, I got to hear the radio call right now. Let's hear the radio call.
Fire 2-2.
in the air out towards right center field. Harris going to go back. Harris back to the warning track. He leaps. Michael's got it. He's got it. They fired it in, and it rolls across the infield. Taken by Riley. He throws to the bag. They double him off. Ball game over.
What a play by
Braves
Austin Riley,
win.
by the way.
I've never seen a play like that. Oh! Braves even up the series. It was back to the wall.
Never seen a play like that because it's the first time an 8-5-3 double play in postseason history. Unbelievable. He covered like 90 feet to go get the baseball.
Unreal.
It's an unbelievable play. That's why Michael Harris is going to win a Gold Glove, by the way.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable play last night. Like you said, great play by Austin Riley to throw it to first as well.
And he's like, when Michael Harris makes the catch, he starts like pointing towards first, and
Yes,
Michael Harris just
because
chunks it
it's
in.
supposed to go to Ozzie Albies. Not a great throw because, like you said, Michael Harris just like, I got this ball.
I
Let's
gotta
chunk this
chunk
thing
it
back
in.
there. Austin Riley heads up play.
Unbelievable.
Because it gets past Ozzie Albies. Unbelievable play to first. This comes after earlier in the game, he had a home run with one hand. He had a ball that was
crazy.
Just absolutely murdered baseball. He hit it with one hand. Oh, I'm getting fired up again. Brian, we can't play the same one again. I know it's radio. You can't repeat things very often. There's got to be a Spanish language broadcast. Let's hear the Spanish one.
Vamos a estar aguantando vara para traernos la serie. Lanzamiento home, batazo, peligroso, al central, para atrás, para atrás, para atrás, para atrás, para atrás. Michael Harris captura. Van a agarrar fuera de base a Bryce Harper. Tiro para la primera. ¡Se acabó el juego! ¡Se acabó el encuentro! ¡Doble play! ¡Bravos gana! ¡Bravos vence a los Phillies de Filadelfia! 5 carreras a 4.
Get you fired up.
Electricity.
Truly just like both calls, whether I understand the words or not, and there's like every other word I'll understand kind of.
Sure.
Like
I understand Michael Harris.
Michael Harris. Bryce Harper, he said Bryce Harper very clearly. Double play, whatever it was. I don't know.
I mean, that was great.
Unbelievable. I mean, electricity. It was an unbelievable play.
It really was.
It was an unbelievable play. Not only the great catch, but like I'm marveling at what Austin Riley did too, and the fact they got Bryce Harper out. What a bum! Thank God.
This is just the crowd sound.
Oh yeah, here, give it to me.
Now that's electric. That's electric right there.
What a play, man! I
That
couldn't
was
even see
awesome.
it.
I mean, but you could just hear the excitement drive you through that play.
Literally visualizing what happened in my head as you hear the crowd erupt, and like you thought they erupted when Michael Harris caught that. The double play was crazy, man. Unbelievable
awesome.
stuff.
That was great.
So that was the game last night. The D-backs also won. I mean, who cares? Get a life, please. But the Braves won last night. 2 more going off today. We'll talk more baseball tomorrow for sure. Yeah. Because right now, Brian, it's a big day, is it not?
Sure is.
It's a big day. And
Talk to me.
You and I are really excited about it. So we said last week, it was like last Wednesday or Thursday, we were talking about, we need to preview the hockey season starting next Tuesday. So we're like, let's do a preview on Tuesday. We quickly find out, we should have known beforehand. There's 32 teams in the National Hockey League. We cannot preview all of them in one day. It's already bad enough that we don't know really anything about what we're talking about. We're going to have to research all of this if we're going to talk about it competently. Let's maybe break it up. And luckily for us, there's only 3 games going off tonight. So
true.
we're about to preview the National Hockey League, and we got sound for it. They're on ESPN tonight. Give me the ESPN music. Oh, great music too.
Iconic.
I went through a bunch of the different options like TNT and the old NBC one. This is the best one.
This is really good. Really good.
Ba-da-bum, ba-da-bum, do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. All right, so let's start here. So here's how we're going to do this, Brian. Let's go through these games tonight, and like a lot of people probably don't care a whole lot about some of the teams. Obviously, the Nashville Predators are in market. You know a lot about the Kraken. The Golden Knights won the Stanley Cup.
Who cares?
And then the Blackhawks also have a player that people are excited about. So let's do this. We're going to go through the games tonight, maybe give a play for the games, play or pass each team we talk about. So if you want to play it, say play, obviously. Pass, say pass. We won't talk about it. Maybe just a little stat there. Also, I've been talking about the model that the Athletic put out for each teams. I brought the model.
Oh, wow.
I printed out the model for every team.
Oh, I thought you actually
like
rolled the model in and was
I don't have
calculate yourself.
No. That's too much. I just printed out the picture representation of what the model said. You see. So let's start at the beginning today. 4:30 on ESPN, also on ESPN Plus, but you just watch it on the main channel. It's on ESPN. The Preds play in Tampa against the Lightning today. Let's start with the Preds. Bryant, play or pass?
Play.
I'll play as well on this one. You want me to start or you want to start?
Please, go for it. Go
All right.
first.
Welcome, Bryant, to the Barry Trotz era. So we have to explain, one thing, my biggest complaint when people talk about college sports is they just like name names and we're all just supposed to know who they are.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you who these people are because I didn't even really remember who he was.
Right.
Barry Trotz was the first Predators coach from 1998 when they were founded until 2014. So he was the first coach there. They let him go. They actually offered him, when he left in 2014, an opportunity to be in the front office. He still wanted to coach, and glad he did. Went to Washington to coach the Capitals and won a Stanley Cup there. Coached there from 14 to 18, and then after that, from 18 to 22, he was the coach for the New York Islanders. They missed the playoffs the year before he got there. Took him to 3 straight playoffs. Missed the playoffs his last year in the Camden. But he was getting old too. I think he was probably done for that point. And now he's back as the general manager of the Nashville Predators. And he is known, Bryant, as a defensive head coach. So what did he need on his other side? An offensive head coach if he's going to be the GM. So he hired Andrew Brunette. And we know who Andrew Brunette is.
Yeah, we do.
He was the head coach of the Florida Panthers in 21-22 when they won the President's Trophy and had one of the greatest offenses in the history of the National Hockey League. We all remember that.
We do.
Now, unfortunately, that did not equate to postseason success, and they fired him because of it.
Yeah. So now he's in Nashville.
What do you think about that?
I mean, hey, look.
Because people say, let me explain why.
Please.
People say that what wins in the regular season in hockey doesn't necessarily equate to the postseason. And the criticism of Andrew Brunette is that he is a really good regular season coach, but his style of hockey doesn't translate to the postseason. What do you think about that?
We kind of saw that this year. I mean, you talk about his year in Florida, and they had this great regular season and can't do anything in the postseason.
51 wins, 108 points.
Right, and then last year's Panthers team barely made it into the playoffs, and then they go incredibly deep. So
also got better too, trading what's his name to the Flames, and they got back. What's his name?
Right. And got healthier, I think, as well. I think they had some injuries, maybe.
Matthew Tkachuk, they got back?
Yeah, maybe.
Isn't that right? I don't remember.
That's not a team we're talking about today.
Yeah, not today.
So,
but the point,
I'll let you know tomorrow or
the
the next day.
I will say this, because that was really the first season I watched hockey, and the Florida Panthers was one of the teams I was watching all the time. It is an exciting brand of hockey to watch.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you're one of these people that we're talking to today that doesn't really watch the National Hockey League and is looking for an entry point, this team is going to be really fun to watch night in and night out. Might not equate to postseason success. Hell, it might not equate to regular season success, as we'll talk about in a minute. They don't have the best roster in the world.
Right.
Some of their best players are getting a lot older, and there's a big gap between the best players on their roster and the rest of their roster, I suppose.
Yeah.
So it might not equate too much, but you definitely know they're going to play an exciting brand of hockey.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I will say about this team is they added some older guys. Ryan O'Reilly being the big addition this offseason from St. Louis, spent the second half of the season last year in Toronto. That's the biggest addition, but you talk about like the young pieces. Like last year, I went up to Nashville to watch them play the Kraken, and that was when everybody was injured. They were playing a ton of young guys, and really nobody in Nashville. I talked to a lot of the Predators fans while I was up there, and they were all like, "There's no way we make the playoffs. We don't even want to make the playoffs at this point." And they really almost made it.
They sold at the deadline.
They did,
as well.
and they really almost made the playoffs because of a lot of these young guys. And so it's like a young group mixed with a veteran, really good old group. And so, like you said, it might not equate to a lot of winning this year, but it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
That takes me very well into my biggest question mark, and we're going to spend the most time on the Predators. Like we said, they're in market, and this is a team people want to hear about. The biggest question mark I see is finishing in the middle. This is what stuff I was reading this morning, is that you just said this perfectly, Bryant. They had no expectations last year. They sold at the deadline, and then they even went on a run after they sold at the deadline to finish 10th in the West, 5th in the Central Division, and maybe that's not exactly where you want to be if you're a young team already that doesn't have a lot of players that you really have a lot of hope for in the future, you either need to make that playoffs, and then that's something to build off of where other people want to come play there, or you need to be dead last kind of in order to get a pick like a Connor Bedard, let's say, something like that. So that's a big question mark. Who should I – let's go through – before we look at personnel, I got the model here, and here's what it says. They're projected, according to the model, 89.1 points. That's 21st. However, they have a really wide range of what they can get. 21% chance they in the 85 range, but also a 20% chance they get in the 95 to 100 range there. So a really big range there for the Predators. A lot of question marks there. 36% chance to make the playoffs and a 1% chance to make the Stanley Cup. Those are both 20th in the National Hockey League. Now, to personnel, Bryant. Who should I know? I've got really two superstars and a star here.
Okay.
First one is UC Saros, the net minder. 92% save percentage last year, 33 wins, unbelievable goalie. You saw him live. Tell me what you think about him.
No, he's really good.
All-star last year as well.
Was, and a lot of people think that he'll be right in the mix for goalie of the year, the Vezina Trophy this year. So I think, and if you have a good goalie, Roman Josi, who I'm sure you're about to talk about here in a second, he's going to be back from injury. And if you have an all-star defenseman and an all-star goalie, I mean, it's going to be hard to beat.
So how about this? 45 goals saved above expected last year. And so the way that's calculated in hockey, I learned this morning, is that if everything breaks down and like your defenseman made mistakes that should result in a goal, if you make that save, that is a goal that you gain one on. 45 goals saved above expected was the best in the National Hockey League last year. Also speaks to how bad the defense was maybe for the Predators as well. Speaking of defenders, you just mentioned him, Roman Josi. Very rare do you see a defenseman lead the team in points, but he is just as good on offense.
Offense runs through him.
As he is on. It really does. He'll take it from coast to coast is what they were saying. He has a plus 17 net rating, Roman Josi does, in terms of like offense versus defense, and that's a plus 15 on offense and a plus 2 rating on defense. Both of those are the best on the Nashville Predators team. As I said, 59 points last year. He's the third-ranked defenseman in the National Hockey League this year, according to the model, behind Cale Makar and Adam Fox of the New York Rangers. So really good company he's in right there. Adam Fox, a young player that's really good. Roman Josi also, 57% of their goals have come with him on the ice the last 2 seasons. What do you think about him?
Yeah, I mean, Roman Yosi's awesome. Also, I don't know if you're going to bring this guy up or not, but you also had Luke Shin this offseason, who's a good addition.
Canucks,
and so I think when you talk about the defense being bad last year, we forget about kind of them selling. We forget about the injuries, and so I think this defense could be a little bit better in front of UC, and I think Roman Yosi's going to be a big part of
Josi.
that. It's hard. I mean, you get a little mixed up.
The other one, Philip Forsberg is a veteran. He's been there for a while.
Great
but he's
stash, too.
Definitely past his prime. He'll be on the first line. They expect Luke Evangelista to be on the first line, and Tommy Novak to be on the first line as well.
Tommy Novak, I have as a guy you need to watch out for. Really good season last year in his first real shot in the bigs.
2 other additions. Gustav Nyquist came from the Wild last year, but he was traded from the Blue Jackets at the deadline. And then Ryan O'Reilly, who was on the Blues Stanley Cup team, and then was traded to the Leafs at the deadline last year. So 2 new additions on offense as well there. Weaknesses that I see, defense. It's kind of Roman Josi and everyone else at this point. They need some big step up there. How about this? The second best defenseman is Ryan McDonough, 34 years old, and they're saying he's kind of past his prime there. That's not always what you're looking for.
No, not at all.
And then the last thing is it's kind of middle drop off after the star players. The best case scenario, how about this? This is a wild best case that I have here. You either sneak into the playoffs or you're absolutely abysmal.
Yeah.
Like both of those would be good cases.
But here's the thing. By them adding Riley O'Reilly, Luke Shin, it's hard for me to think that they're in rebuild mode. This seems like they want to retool and try to make the playoffs.
Because those are also veterans, too. It's not like those are young players.
Because you sold at the deadline last year. If you're really going to do a rebuild, you're not going to go out and sign these veterans.
You want to talk about the Lightning?
I just want to say a quick thing about them.
Okay.
Andrei Vasilevsky is going to miss the first 2 months of the year. That's going to be a huge loss for them. The guy they've got starting tonight and will probably start moving forward, Jonas Johansson, 28-year-old guy, really has been a career backup, hadn't really played much, only seen action in 35 NHL games, 3 games last year with Colorado, and had a 93.2 save percentage, but he was playing behind one of the best defenses in hockey, so maybe take that with a grain of salt when you look at some of his years before that, not so great as a goalie.
Do you have a pick for this game?
I might actually take a stab at the Preds money line in this one. I think there's a big goalie mismatch right here. I think if you could see some of this young offense mixed with the veterans, Yossi coming in there and running the offense, maybe you get some early shots on goal, maybe get one past them, and maybe a good price right now. I think about plus 150 right now for the Preds. I'd maybe take the Preds.
I like that as well. I stayed away from picking a winner on this one. I was thinking about Lightning minus 1.5, but like you said, no Vasilevsky for 2.5 months here. That's a problem here as well. I took the over 6.5 at even money.
That was also one of my bets. Is maybe a look at the over.
I thought for sure you were going to take the under because you would see how good that UC is, and you'd be like, "Oh, we're taking the under." In this
so
one.
That's when you said I was going to be a sucker.
I thought for sure you were going to be a sucker for that one, but no. So that's our analysis for Game 1 there. Let's go to another game. The next game on the docket here, Blackhawks at Penguins. We got to kind of go full speed here because I know you want to talk about the Kraken. Do you want to talk about the Blackhawks? I don't. If you want to talk about Connor Bedard for a second.
I'll play real quick. Connor Bedard is going to be on the first line, which is really incredible for a rookie to do, and it's really going to be the Bedard show this year. This team's going to be awful. They're going to be abysmal. They have a guy Ryan Donato, who was a fourth line winger for the Kraken last year, and is going to be playing on the second line. No, actually, I think first line for them this year. So this is going to be a really bad team.
No kidding.
Points are going to come at a premium for them, and it's just going to be not very fun to watch. But the only thing I can say is just watch for Connor Bedard, because I think with him, they have a couple of other young pieces there. They could be fun to watch these guys develop, but them as a team of wanting to watch them be good and winning games is not going to happen.
A minus 52 net rating is the second worst in the National Hockey League this year. And screw the Penguins. I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, but I do have a pick for this game. I'm taking the Penguins minus 1.5 on the puck line. I think this Blackhawks team is just going to be awful. I think the Penguins are going to have a strong start to the season. After missing the playoffs last year, they're going to want to start strong in order to start that trip to the playoffs this year. I think they win big tonight.
I like that quite a bit, especially in Game 1 like that. I think maybe you can get a pretty good price on that. The last game of the night here is the reigning Stanley Cup champions that beat the Panthers. It is the Vegas Golden Knights at home. They play the Seattle Kraken. Bryant, should expectations... I'm just going to skip the Golden Knights. Let's go right to the Kraken here.
Okay.
Should expectations be higher this year for the Seattle Kraken? They exceeded expectations last year. The second biggest wins jump in the National Hockey League behind the Devils last year. So should expectations be higher? Is that fair to the Kraken?
I don't know. I think there's still a lot of question marks about this team. This team, if you look at kind of their stats from last year, this was a team by committee. I mean, they scored by committee. Their goaltending was by committee. Really, their play as a whole was by committee. And so the biggest question is, can they translate that again this year? Some people say no. Some people say that was just a flash in the pan for a lot of these players. Others say that you can replicate that year after year. I think the biggest story to watch for the Kraken is Matty Beniers, the young center that will be on the first line this year after winning the Calder Cup last year for the Rookie of the Year.
Plus 11 net rating for Beniers, by the way.
A good player. Also, you got Burakovsky back, who's a winger that will also be on the first line that missed really the entire second half of the season last year, and that Kraken team looked entirely different without him on the ice. Biggest question this year, goaltending. Well, Shane Wright. Shane Wright's going to start in the AHL. He'll probably be one of the first call-ups.
Talk about goaltending. That's the last thing we'll talk about.
Yeah, so I would say goaltending. Philip Grubauer is going to be your starting goaltender. I didn't think he was very good the past 2 years, but he's going to be the starter this year. Last year they had Martin Jones, who I thought was really good. Career backup Martin Jones. Not with the team anymore. I think Joey Decord is going to be the backup.
Same net rating for Grubauer and Decord, by the way.
Yeah, so that's going to be the biggest thing is can you keep pucks out of the net? You're really going to rely on this blue line to keep a lot of shots from getting to Gruby.
Kraken and the Predators are actually really in the same boat in terms of predictions, both like mid-89, and in terms of high and low ceiling and floor, there's exactly the same essentially. Shane Wright is one of their really good players. He's at best, this is what I'm hearing, at best like a third or fourth line center.
Yeah.
They want to move to winger maybe, and he could maybe get to one of the top two lines on this team.
Yeah.
What do you think about that idea?
Who are we talking about again?
Shane Wright.
Shane Wright. Yeah, Shane Wright's going to start in the AHL.
Because people are saying his ceiling being a center, there's just too many good ones. He can't be higher than a third or fourth line center.
I just don't know. I want to see what he does in the AHL. Now, maybe that's something they do in the AHL is move him to a winger and see how he does, because that's just something he hasn't done in his career. He's always been the best player on his team. He's always been the center. He's always been the captain. So we'll see. Ty Cartier, another young guy that came in the playoffs last year, an undrafted guy that's going to start on the third or fourth line for the Kraken this year, will be a fun guy to watch.
So it'll be a lot of fun. Starts 30 tonight. Make sure you watch the. You just don't.
So you turn your mic off on accident.
It's all right. No worries about it. Predators tonight. Make sure you watch this game. Starts at 4:30 here, and there's 3 games back to back to back. I hope you enjoy it. That's Hockey Talk. More after this.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Howdy folks, Dominic Cunha, General Manager at Sunrise Buick GMC on Covington Pike. Our Western Trading Day sales event is here again. My ranch managers have been instructed to slash prices, so if you're looking for a great deal, don't look any further. New Buicks and GMCs, discounts up to $6,500 and a $12 million used car inventory. The Sunrise Ranch on the Pike is the place to go. Bad credit, bankruptcy, slow pay, that's okay. Here at Sunrise, we specialize in secondary financing and used cars below $69.95. Visit us online at sunriseonthepike.com or in person, 1800 Covington Pike.
Join us for the Memphis Police Department Hiring Expo Saturday, October 21st, 2023 from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 170 North Main Street downtown. We'll be taking applications and interviewing candidates on site. Salary starting at $54,611, increasing to $60,713 after probation. Benefits include a $15,000 sign-on bonus, up to $10,000 relocation assistance. For more information or details, visit joinmpd.com.
If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know: Binswanger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Binswanger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Binswanger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood, across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit binswingerglass.com. Binswanger Glass.
Spencer here with ATC Fitness. There's no better time of the year than now. Football and fitness go hand in hand in the fall. And with individual screens on each piece of cardio and multiple big screens throughout the rest of the club, you'll never miss a bit of the action watching your favorite team. ATC Fitness continues to be the Mid-South's choice for fitness, family-owned for 30 years, and proud supporters of Coach Silverfield and the Memphis Tigers. Join online at atcfitness.com. ATC Fitness, exercise your right to look good.
4.9 liter V8, 0 to 60, and I'm about to find out.
Now, back to Sports 56 Happy Hour on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Tito's Vodka. Here once again, Johnny Radio.
Man, what a show, Brian.
Time flies when you're having fun.
It really does. We'll move this. We got a little more baseball to talk. I guess we'll save that for tomorrow. We got a lot of stuff. I've got a little thought-provoking question about how the playoffs have gone. But maybe we'll watch these games tonight and maybe have a better idea of it. Gave you some plays in the last one for the National Hockey League. Now, it is time to get back to. We don't have a ton of time here, do we? No, we're kind of.
Oh man, I haven't even done my math today. No, we got a couple minutes.
Got to do your math, Brian. The last thing I want to talk about here before we get to break, I lost one of my tabs here, but that's all right. I can just talk about it. Is the Halloween or Hallowatch-along that we're doing. So yesterday, like we mentioned earlier in the show, we watched the movie Beetlejuice, and Brian and I both liked it. Brian saw it for the first time. I'm really glad he got to see it. And so tonight, we'd love for you all to join us and watch these movies with us so you can maybe watch along, get in the Halloween spirit with us. And we'll talk about it tomorrow. And you can always text us, 901-360-8255, your thoughts while we're talking about it. I think it's a fun way to get in the Halloween spirit, a fun way to interact with the audience. And it's something, while it's not necessarily sports, it's something that pretty much everybody likes, good classic movies and stuff like that. Movies is kind of like music, where like, you ask someone, do you like music? Someone's like, yeah, I like music. Everybody likes some kind of music. Everybody likes some kind of movies. And this is a good entry point with the season as well. So the movie that we're watching tonight, Young Frankenstein, 1974.
Wow.
Directed by Mel Brooks, written by Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks. It stars Mel
Gene Wilder. Do I know that name?
Gene Wilder was the original Willy Wonka in the old...
That's why I know him from.
Okay, and he's in a bunch of Mel Brooks movies as well.
That's where I know him from. Is he in this movie?
He is. He's the main character in this movie. He plays Dr. Frankenstein. He's also married to Gilda Radner, who's one of the funniest people on the film. And Gene Wilder is very funny as well. But anyway, Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks wrote the film, and they also both star in it. Gene Wilder's Frankenstein, and I guess they're both technically Frankenstein, but Gene Wilder's Dr. Frankenstein. Mel Brooks in it as well. Marty Feldman plays Igor. Peter Boyle, who you might know as the father, or the grandfather, I should say, in Everybody Loves Raymond. He plays Ray and Robert's father. Peter Boyle does. May he rest in peace. Great, very funny man. Madeline Kahn and Cloris Leachman, who are Mel Brooks staples as well in some of his movies. They're really funny actresses as well. First of all, this movie is available on HBO Max, or Max, I guess, or if you have an HBO subscription through whatever cable provider or streaming provider you have, it is available on there right now.
Max has live sports now?
Hulu has live sports?
No, Max has live sports.
Oh, I actually did
Both,
know that.
I guess, have live sports.
But yeah, so you could watch it on there. A quick synopsis of it, because I know we're up against it. A respected medical lecturer, Dr. Frederick Frankenstein, learns that he has inherited his famous grandfather's estate in Transylvania. Arriving at the castle, Dr. Frankenstein soon begins to recreate his grandfather's experiments with the help of servants Igor, Inga, and the fearsome Frau. After he creates his own monster, new complications ensue with the arrival of the doctor's fiancée, Elizabeth. It is hilariously funny. It is not super long. I can't find how long it is. 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, 98% audience score.
Hour and 45 minutes.
It is one of my favorite movies of all time. Everybody, if you watch it tonight, you will laugh out loud if you haven't seen it. If you've seen it before, you'll laugh out loud again. You'll love it. It's something for the whole family, too. I cannot recommend it enough. Young Frankenstein, Brian and I will watch it tonight and then come back and talk about it tomorrow. Speaking of which, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day, everybody.
Have a good day.
What do you get when you have a dream, a beer, and a business plan? Meddlesome Brewing. Meddlesome's classic ales and lagers capture the true Memphis spirit. Strong, tenacious, and unforgettable. Meddlesome captures true Memphis spirit as well with